continuing through the lessons. If you haven't watched the previous video, you should. It won't make much sense this video otherwise. But yeah, let's start with HTML basics. So in this chapter, we'll be shown some basic HTML examples, and it tells us to not worry about using tags we haven't learned. Okay. So just a reminder, tags are like this is a tag, this is a tag, and then this whole thing would be an element. Yeah, so it reminds us here that the document type must start with doc type HTML in order for the software to know that it's HTML5. Then the document itself begins with the tags HTML and then an ending tag. We put everything, including the HTML tags, the body tags, the type tags, everything in the HTML tags. Okay. The doc type declaration represents the document type and helps browsers to display web pages correctly. Okay. It must only appear once at the top of the page. Okay, so there's no closing brackets for doc type. Remember that. The doc type declaration is not case sensitive, okay? And it's for HTML5. Got it. Then the headings. The headings are defined with the H1 to H6. And H1 is the most important heading, and H6 is the least important heading. So if we try it ourselves here, we can see that H1 is the biggest and H6 is the smallest. And yeah, they start with doc type HTML, and then everything is between the tags of HTML. Okay, HTML paragraphs. They're defined by P. We saw this in the previous video. This is a paragraph. Yep. Okay, how to make links. So the link tag is A, and we put in the initial A tag, we put the href equals quotation signs, and then in the quotation signs we would put the link to the photo. And then if we put anything in between the tags, it will be shown as text. So if you put the link in between the tags, it'll just be shown the link. So don't do that if you don't want that to happen. The link's destination is specified in the href attribute. Okay. Attributes are used to provide additional information about HTML elements. So we'll learn more about this. Now to add images. Oh, so the previous thing wasn't for images, sorry. The previous thing was just links specifically. So if you click on a link, it sends you to a specific website. So for here, for example, if we click, you see how the text is what the link is attributed to. So now if we click here, it would send us to the link that we put over here. So that's pretty cool. Then for images, it's almost the same thing, but instead of href like here, you put src, stands for source file, and then alternate text. This is in case the photo doesn't show up, this text would show instead. And then we would specify the width and height of the image. We don't have to worry much about the width and height because that's more of CSS, but I guess we could do the basics. So let's try it. So it has the photo here, and then if we put like 204 instead of 104 and we run it, we can see it's way wider. And then if we put 04, it might not even show how small it is. Oh, look at this. Yeah, that's cool. Okay. How to be HTML source. Have you ever seen a web page and wonder, hey, how did they do that? View HTML source code. Right click in an HTML page and select view page source in Chrome or view source. Okay. I don't think we have to worry much about this. Let's go to the next lesson. HTML elements. So an HTML element is defined by a start tag, some content, and an end tag. Then, so this is an example of, these are some examples of elements. Nested HTML elements. So HTML elements can be nested. So this means that elements can contain other elements. All HTML documents consist of nested HTML elements. So what it's talking about is that the HTML element is nested by the body element and the heading element and the paragraph element. So it's adding on to. That's why I guess it's called nesting. The example explained, the HTML element is the root element and it defines the whole HTML document. Okay, it has a start, an end tag, yeah. The body element defines the document's body. So the HTML element is the root of the element, and then the body is the document's body. It has a start, yep, and then inside the body element there are two other elements, H1 and P. And then H is for heading, P is for paragraph, okay? Never skip the end tag. Some HTML elements will display correctly even if you forget the end tag. Okay. Yeah, so it's bad habit not to put the end tag, because then you don't want to write a whole code and then be wrong just because you forgot one end tag. So it says here, however, never rely on this. Unexpected results and errors might occur if you forget the end tag. Okay. HTML elements. HTML elements with no content are called empty elements. The BR tag defines a line break and is an empty element without a closing tag. Okay, so if we try here, we would see yeah, that it's a break. It skips to the next line. So if we copy this and paste it, I should see two space lines. Yep. Okay, perfect. So BR. HTML is not case sensitive. We saw this before. The HTML standard does not require lowercase tags, but it's good. It recommends to use lowercase, and it demands lowercase for stricter document types like XHTML. So it's good. It's a good habit to put it, to always put it lowercase, but you technically don't have to. Okay, so yeah, next one. HTML attributes. Attributes provide additional information about HTML elements. Okay, that's cool. All HTML elements can have attributes. Attributes are always specified in the start tag. Attributes usually come in name/value pairs, like name equals quotations value. So the href attribute, the A tag defines a hyperlink. The href attribute specifies the URL of the page the link goes to. So the A defines the hyperlink, and then the href specifies the URL. Okay, and then the source for attribute for image. So image is embedded an image. So image would be the thing that specifies the hyperlink, and then source attribute specifies the path to the image to be displayed. Yeah, so a lot of words there, but pretty much this: put image, then source, and then the image will be the link that you put here. There are two ways to specify the URL in the source attribute. Absolute URL, which is an external image that is hosted on another website. Example, okay. So an image that you find on the internet and then you copy the link, that would be an absolute URL. It notes that external images might be under copyright. If you do not get permission to use it, you might be in violation of copyright laws. Yeah, and it makes a good point here. You cannot control external images. It can suddenly be removed or changed. And then the relative URL links an image that is hosted within the website. So here the URL does not include the domain name. If the URL begins with a slash, it will be relative to the current page. So example, source image girl.php. If the URL begins with a slash, it will be relative to the domain. So without a slash, it's current to the page, and then with a slash, it's relative to the domain. It is almost always best to use relative URLs. They will not break if you change domains. Okay. So what's pretty much saying here is don't copy links from websites to use their photos. Instead of that, download the photo to your website file and then use it, link it from there. That way you have the full photo and you can control everything that happens to it. The width and height attributes. So we saw here with the width and height, and then when you just put a number to it, and the numbers are in pixels. The alt attribute. The alt attribute for image tag specifies an alternate text for an image. So we talked about this. If the image doesn't show up, the text will instead. This can be due to slow connection or an error in the source attribute, or if the user uses a screen reader. Okay, so here it's gonna show us if this image isn't found, then this will be displayed. So, and then here, I don't know why it doesn't work in this case, but girl with a jacket, that's the thing that should be displayed. I think the image is just too small, so we can't see it, but yeah, cool. The style attribute. Style attribute is used to add styles to an element, such as color, font, size, and more. So this is more of CSS, and it's a good habit to write the CSS in a different document, but you can do simple styling within the tags of HTML. But it's not recommended for bigger projects just because it can get messy real quick. Yeah, so it tells us here you will learn more about styles in our HTML styles chapter. The lang attribute. You should always include the lang attribute inside the HTML tag to declare the language of the web page. This is meant to assist search engines and browsers. Okay, cool. So if you speak English, which I think you do, otherwise I don't know why you're listening to me. Yeah, just put EN for English. And it mentions here that country codes can also be added instead of the EN. Oh, never mind. Yeah, EN and then the country code. So it's more specific to your country. And it tells you here, okay. The title attributes define some extra information about an element. The value of the title attribute will be displayed as a tooltip when you mouse over the element. Let's see what this does. So mouse over this paragraph to display the attribute. Tooltip. I am a tooltip. Oh, here it is. So if you mouse over, then down here it just disappears. Down here it tells you I'm a tooltip, which is a thing written here. So that's cool. We always suggest using lowercase attributes. Yeah, so it doesn't require, but they recommend it. Just like the tags. Also, it mentions that the HTML standard does not require quotes around attribute values. However, they recommend quotes in HTML because sometimes you do, and at first it's hard to know when you shouldn't use it. So just use it every time and you won't be wrong. Yeah, so here it gives us an example of a wrong attribute just because they didn't include as a quotation. Single or double quotes? Good question. Double quotes around attribute values are the most common in HTML, but single quotes can also be used. In some situations, when the attribute value itself contains double quotes, it is necessary to use single quotes. Okay, so double quotes usually, but if you already put the double quote in the same element, then you would use the single quote, just so it's easier to read. So the chapter summary. So what we learned in today and last video is the href attribute of A specifies the URL of the page the link goes to. The source attribute of image specifies the path to the image to be displayed. The width and height attributes of image provide size information for images. The alt attribute of image provides an alternate text for an image. The style attribute is used to add styles to an element such as color, font, size, and more. The lang is attribute of the HTML is used to declare the language of the web page, and then the title attribute defines some extra information about an element. Okay, so here it gives us an exercise to try ourselves. So add a tooltip to the paragraph below with the text about 3 schools. So I think if I remember correctly, it was double quote and then tooltip. Oh. tooltip. Start the exercise, maybe? It's not letting me type in the full. What am I doing wrong? Let's see. The joy of not knowing. Add a tooltip to the paragraph below with the text about W3 schools. Oh, it's not. So about W3 schools, that's like the tooltip. So here it would be source, I believe. Let's try that and see if that. Not correct. Okay, so href. Not correct. Okay, so I don't want to look at the answer. I'm going to find out myself. So let's go to the example. Oh, is it title? It is title. Okay, title. Submit answer. Yay, it's first. We got it first try. Yeah. Okay, that's it for today. I'll see you next video to learn more about HTML. If you haven't subscribed yet, you should. I'm a total newbie trying to learn HTML. I'll need some help, and yeah, join me along my journey. Have a good one. See ya.